And the ones that I do approach me, I am on Facebook Christian Singles. And so they're usually in their 40s, and I'm not interested due to our age gap. I'm 25. However, I do appreciate their maturity and forwardness compared to our millennial generation.
Okay.
And so I do have to let them know the age difference. And from there, like, we remain amicable as friends, but I do let them know I'm not interested in that way at this time. But however, it seems that the Christian men space in my generation are not as committed or forthcoming sometimes. And so what suggestions or things can I build upon regarding putting myself out there?
Talking about men and it being difficult to find them in our generation, you know, there's the millennial generation and there's the older generation, and you're finding it difficult to connect with your generation of guys that you would want to date and marry.
Yes, correct.
So I would just encourage you to challenge your own mindset a little bit, in that it's easy to associate everybody together. Like the idea of men, like even just the plural, men versus a man. You don't want to put labels on people, on groups of people, and say the men like are this way in this culture, because that's true. We can make generalizations. There are trends. That you're not wrong at all. But the mentality of seeing a man labeled under the qualities that you've given to men can make you treat that person in a way where it might close doors before you have a chance to open them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So your perspective of men could lead to some overprotection and not giving guys a chance who might be of your age, but you might be assuming they're a type of way when they're really not. Just an idea.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're doing that, but it's just something to think about. Because I always get a little bit, I get that a lot in the comments, you know, when I read through them on my videos. They're like, good luck trying to find the one. Women these days are this way. Or men, good luck trying to find a man. And in our culture, they're all narcissistic psychopaths. And it's like, yeah, there are a lot of narcissistic psychopaths out there, but not everybody. Right? There's like, you're looking for an individual. So here's a good framework to try to think of some practical ways that maybe you can change. There's basically 3 ways, in my opinion, of trying to meet somebody. And you may have heard this if you listen to my channel, but there's basically the random approach, there's the natural approach, and then there's the intentional approach. So I'll give a brief summary here. The random approach is when you would just live your life kind of sporadically, hoping to run into a Christian man anywhere. You're like randomly just hoping that you meet someone at the dog park or the gym or the bank or the grocery store. Could you meet a Christian in those places? Yes. But it would be random. Because that's not really where you would expect to find a Christian there. You would expect to find people shopping for food at the grocery store, who want to work out at the gym and like dogs at the dog park. That makes sense. But the natural approach, which it sounds like you're doing, the natural approach is where you would invest your time in places where you would naturally expect to meet other Christian men who have similar values as you do. So naturally, church is the number one that comes up to mind with people. Service projects, interacting with other groups of friends where you're networking and meeting other Christians through the Christian friends that you have. it would make sense if you met a man who's a Christian in those environments. It wouldn't be random. You'd expect to meet a Christian man at a Christian college or something, right? Like that's probably where they would be. Or wouldn't be weird if you ran into a Christian man at a Bible study. That's where you probably would think they would be. So that's usually the place where I recommend people start. Start with the natural approach, and it sounds like you're doing that. It sounds like you have a good community, you're getting it, you've involved in your church. The last approach is the intentional approach, which also sounds like you're dabbling in a little bit, and that would
like
be
online dating.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's where you're not just going somewhere where you might meet somebody, it's where you're going somewhere with the intention of meeting somebody. And the most obvious example for our time and culture would be online dating. So those are the different tactics that I would try to navigate. And as far as online dating goes, I wonder, I don't do a huge, I've looked into different websites and apps because people always ask me like which one I recommend. And honestly, my answer to those types of questions is usually like, it doesn't matter that much. It more matters how you use them. It's more about how you're using the online dating. So I would perhaps explore something different than the Facebook, because that's free, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's the only thing I would recommend as far as like perhaps changing something, is that if you have the resources, I would recommend doing a paid site, because you end up at least talking to people who are a little more invested because they've spent money.
Right.
The free ones, easy come, easy go. You know, it's like, hey, this is free. I'll just text this girl and whatever, you know. But at least when you're paying money, you're like, this person's at least willing to use their resources. And I recommend like a Christian one where at least of course you're going to meet non-Christians on there, or people who think they're Christian and who they're not. But at least you're signing up somewhere where people are at least trying to navigate towards a Christian.
Right. Yes.
And so that could be an option at 25. You know, I'm sure you would have a lot of options if, you know, in that area, if that's something you wanted to try. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that would be actually a great idea. I have looked at some YouTube videos regarding like Christians and their singleness before they have gotten married. And so they always like refer certain dating apps like Holy or Salt or CrossPath.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked into those yet because I've been trying to enhance my walk with the Lord and strengthen that a little more, going into youth ministry and helping in that area. But I am interested in like seeing what it would look like on the dating apps in the intentional version of probably paying for subscription to see what kind of difference I would be noting more.
Exactly. I think it'd be interesting for you because you're getting approached online from people. They're just not the type of person you would want to, you know, go forward with. So I think it sounds like, you know, I think you usually at 25, I recommend people kind of stay in the natural approach. But it sounds like you might be somebody that I would recommend trying the intentional approach a little bit more, just because it seems like you would be ready, you have the right qualities, and you're being responsible. So why not just go for it a little bit more and be intentional and see what might happen in that area. Okay. Yeah.
This could actually help with my confidence and risk taking.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of a risk taking approach.
It is.
But I will say, Mark, like I believe in your book describing the practical sense, and so I think in the practicality, it did note like the online dating and even more putting yourself out there.
Yes.
With like your values, your morals, and then seeing where that leads. And so
absolutely.
I think it is.